Thank you for clicking on Lazy Girl Reads. So I am back for roll 2. Actually, I guess it's technically roll 3 of Spookopoly. So the first time, as you may recall, that I rolled a double. So I had to do it twice. So I had 2 books that I read for that first time. And that was One Little Mistake by Avery Maxwell and Salt House Place by Jamie Lee Sohn. So first I'll give you a little recap of those 2 books and then we will roll again. So the first one, One Little Mistake by Avery Maxwell, is a billionaire romance about Easton and Lexi. And it's not really enemies to lovers because they're never actually enemies, but kind of, sort of. I mean, I guess that's the closest, the nearest trope, right, to that. And so there's that. There's some not really fake dating, but secret relationship is what I'm trying to say. So billionaire romance, secret relationship, and kind of, sort of enemies to lovers. They're both very prickly, very salty. There's a lot of back and forth. And they both have reasons for that, right? They've had some traumatic experiences in their not too distant, well, for Lexi, it's the not too distant past. For Easton, it's a little bit more attenuated. It's about, I want to say, 8 to 10 years ago, but he has not processed it and is not over it. And so, yeah. So they're both dealing with some stuff, right? And definitely search up trigger warnings for this book because there's some heavier subject matter that may be triggering for some people. So definitely look into that. Make sure you kind of know what you're getting into with regard to that. We have a sibling group that Easton is a part of, as well as kind of a larger friend group that is also part of this. I really enjoyed the dynamics between the brothers and the larger friend group. I was unaware that there was 5 previous books in a companion series to this book. So there were things that I clearly wasn't getting. There were things that were alluded to, things that were referred back to that I didn't know because I didn't realize. So I definitely would recommend, even though it's a companion series and not part of the actual series, at least that's how it reads when I looked it up, I would definitely recommend looking at all of the related books because there's some things that I just knew I wasn't catching on to in terms of the relationship dynamics, as well as just the history of some of these characters that I believe happened in prior books. So there's a quite a large group of them, and the family motto is "Welcome to the Chaos," which I think is very cute. I really like that. It's also kind of their call to arms, or what they say when they're, standing up for one another, when they have one another's back, when they're getting ready to jump into something. They say, "Welcome to the chaos." So I thought that was cute. I like that a lot. I enjoyed that dynamic for sure. There is grandmother, who is Lexi's grandmother, who she calls Gigi. And Gigi is a sassy, stubborn, tarot card reading grandma who somehow knows which individuals should be coupled up and will have their, HEA, but doesn't know when someone is lying or taking advantage of her. So I don't know. I'm not psychic. Maybe that's how it works. It's very specific type of psychic ability that she has. But like I said, I'm not psychic. So anyway, Gigi was a lot of fun. I enjoyed her character quite a bit, and I hope that there will be more of her. I may very well pick up some of the earlier books so that I can have a little bit more feel like I have a little bit more of the lay of the land, so to speak. So I didn't love this book. It definitely wasn't, my favorite book of the year or anything like that, but it was fun. I had a good time with it. I enjoyed it. Um, yeah, so that was one little mistake. The next book that I read was Salt House Place, and Salt House Place is a kind of mystery thriller, and I really enjoyed this book. I ended up liking it way more than I even thought I would. I mean, I thought that I would like it, I would enjoy it, or I would not have chosen it. But but I liked it even more than I thought I would. Now, there were some characters that I really did not like at all. So we have three friends: Delia, Kara, and Z. Her name is Zelda, but she goes by Z. Who, as teenagers, go out. They steal some beers from Kara's brother and go out on the lake, and they're hanging out, they're drinking, they're playing around, doing whatever. And then as they're coming back in, Delia is on the floaty, kind of just meandering and taking her time, coming back in. And Z and Kara are swimming, and they kind of race each other. And as Delia is kind of coming closer to shore, she hears Kara screaming, and she spins the floaty around, and she's like, "What is going on?" She's like, "Where is she? Where's Z? Do you see her?" So they're screaming her name. They're looking for her. They can't find her, and so they call the police. They're doing all the things. Their divers come. They're trialing the lake. They never find a body. There's never a body, and they never find her. So then that happens when they're teenagers. Now we fast forward, what is it, like 10 or so years, and we see them as adults. So that's literally the prologue. So that's not a spoiler. That's literally the first thing that happens in the book. So that happens, and then it fast forwards, and we see them as adults, and it kind of goes through some of the different trauma dynamics that happen with these two girls and their families to a certain extent, like how that experience impacts them and what that looks like. And there is a whole cult element with regard to this that I don't want to get into too much detail about, because there's a lot of twists and turns with regard to that, and it's a central part of the book. So just know that there's a cult element, and so it definitely fit the spooky prompt with regard to that. It wasn't really like a whodunit per se, but there's a lot of people doing a lot of shady shit in this book. So there's a lot of twists and turns with regard to that. I had a good time with this book. I really enjoyed it. I did not love the ending. That's just me. It just wasn't my favorite way to end the book. I'm sure there's, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that very much will like it the way it ended. But for me, it wasn't really my favorite. But other than that, I had a good time with this book. It's very fast paced. It went really quickly. And I liked it. I enjoyed it. So those were my first two Spookopoly books that I read for this readathon reading challenge. So now I'm going to stop the camera. I'm going to turn it around, and we're going to do our next roll together, and then we'll pick a book. So hang tight. I'm going to be right back with you with some dice in my hand. Okay. So here we are with the Spookopoly. I wanted to kind of turn it this way so you could read this, but we'll try it. So my little marker's here on Spooky. That's where I landed last time. So let's take the dice. And we've got 3. So we'll move my little spot. Whoops, my little rock. 1, 2, 3. And I landed on Stephen King. So, of course, you can do it, straight on the nose and pick a book by Stephen King, or a book that has royalty in the title, or a book that has that's about royalty, you know, the whole king situation. So I will take a look at my Kindle and my book list on Amazon and see what I've got that goes along with the Stephen King prompt, and we'll get right back together. Okay, so I chose my book, and my cat has decided to join me today. So she's making her YouTube debut. Say hi. So the book that I chose is called Wild Scottish Night by Trisha O'Malley, and Knight is Knight. So I don't know, I landed on the Stephen King prompt. We talked about that. And so I don't know if a knight is technically royalty. Like, I live in America, so we don't have royalty here. So, you know, bear with me. I know the basics. I know queen, king, prince, princess, duchess, duke, countess, count, you know, I get that. So I don't think a knight is technically part of that royalty. They're not born into it. A monarch has to make them a knight, whatever that ceremonial process is, right? Like, I know that Queen Elizabeth knighted Elton John, and she's the one that had the authority to do it because she was the ruling monarch. So I think even though they're not actually royalty, because it requires royalty for them to exist or elevate or whatever you call that to knighthood, then that would make them part of the royal court, right? Okay, so I'm gonna count it because, as you can see, my knowledge of the whole royalty and royal process is fairly limited, and mostly garnered from TMZ and other popular celebrity gossip. So I'm just gonna go with it. I'm gonna make a ruling for this game that it counts. That knight being in the title counts for this prompt. So that's the book I'm gonna read, Wild Scottish Night by Trisha O'Malley. So my understanding from reading the synopsis is that this is a story about our main character. I believe her name is Sophie, and she is a California girl, and she inherits a Scottish castle. I'm not sure from whom or how that happened, but she inherits a Scottish castle, and so she has to go to Scotland to claim her inheritance. And then there she meets Lachlan Campbell, and I think Lachlan is the knight referred to in the title. I believe it's him, so we'll find out. But I'm surmising that he is the knight. Are knights always men? Can there be women knights? Anyway, so Sophie goes to Scotland. She meets Lachlan, and this is going to be their love story. From what I gather from reading that synopsis, it's a grumpy sunshine and forced proximity tropes. There may be others, I don't know, but I'm excited. So thank you for hanging out with me on Lazy Girl Reads and meeting my kitty. I will go now and read that book, and then when I'm finished, we'll do the same thing. I'll come back, I'll turn on the camera, and we will talk about the book and what I thought of it, and then we'll roll again and we'll keep going. So thank you again to Becca and the Books for creating this game. I'm having a good time with it. My very first readathon. All right, you have a great day, night, whatever time you're watching this, and I will see you next time. Bye.